Alrighty, good evening, Arkansas. This is Assistant Chief Forecaster Cameron back here once again. I'm going to give you guys a live video going over the potential of seeing winter weather as we get towards late Monday and into your Tuesday, and then we'll have to watch Tuesday into Wednesday into Thursday here. So before I get into any kind of information, before I start getting into questions and everything, everybody's going to be kind of tuning in, asking those questions. Biggest thing I'm going to ask you guys is to remain patient with me because there is a ton of information I got to go over in terms of this setup here, because it's not just going to be one big event, it's going to be multiple rounds. So just remain patient with me. I'm going to go over all that good information and then I'll get to your questions here. But I want to start with this first because this is the number one thing that I want to stress before we get into this event coming up next week. Is everybody's going to see different precipitation types. You're going to see, even in some cases, especially in North Arkansas, the potential of some light snow. But I want to stress this right now because I know there's a lot of snow lovers out there. This is not a snow setup. I want to repeat that. This is not going to be a widespread snow event where everybody gets, significant snow and everything like that. So keep that in mind. This is going to be more of an ice potential versus a snow potential unless you're in North Arkansas. But things can and will change over the next couple of days here. But that's the first precipitation type on your left side of your screen is the snow. And then things get a little bit, in some cases, confusing, but I'm going to break it down to you. So everything starts off as snow, no matter if it's rain, sleet, freezing rain, etc. Everything starts off as snow. Any precipitation, even in the summertime, and it's going to be weird, it's a weird fact, but the rain you get in the summertime starts off as snowflakes high up in the atmosphere. Well, what ends up happening is it gets down into the warm air, and this is where the forecast becomes very, very tricky. And even in some cases, it can be nerve-wracking because how much warm air we're going to be dealing with aloft, where does it set up, who sees what. We kind of saw this similar to last year where the ice storm mainly impacted southern and southeastern Arkansas while everybody else saw sleet and even in some cases in North Arkansas some snow. So it really depends on where the warm air is allowed to get to, and that's going to determine your precipitation mode. So sleet, and same thing with freezing rain, but sleet and freezing rain are kind of two different precipitation types because it starts off as snowflakes, makes it to that warm air, melts to those raindrops, and then it goes back into the cold air if you're talking about sleet, and it falls to the surface. If you go with freezing rain, it melts all the way through just like normal rain, but you see the difference between freezing rain and rain. Freezing rain, your temperatures at the surface where we are 32 degrees or below, and the rain that falls forms a thin layer of ice on the roads, on the power lines, and stuff like that. So that's why it's so catastrophic to see those quarter of an inch of ice and stuff like that, which we're going to get to in just a little bit. And then also, the regular rain, where everything from the mid-levels down to the low levels, including us down to the surface, is completely rain here. So this is what we got at this point, and I want to stress this map right now, that this is a first look graphic. So what does first look mean? That means that things will change over the next 24 to 48 hours. And also keep this in mind, this is going to be in multiple rounds. So this is going to go from Monday night all the way until Thursday morning. It's not going to be one big event or anything like that. There will be lull periods, basically quiet periods where there's not much going on. And then there's going to be a period where there's freezing rain, sleet, even in some cases in North Arkansas, some light snow. So keep that in mind across the board. That's the biggest thing I want to stress right now, is that potential is on the table here. So bear me for just a bit. I forgot to add one more thing to this graphic. Give me 1 second, and then we should be good to go. Okay, all right. Anyways, all right, but anywho, that's what I was mentioning before. So North Arkansas, at this given moment, there could be some light snow kind of mixing in at times up there. And this is going to go from Monday night. And I'm going to show you with computer mode, guys, here in just a little bit. But it's going to go from Monday night and into Tuesday and into Wednesday. And we'll have to watch that early Thursday morning time frame as well here. But this is what we're looking at this point. But for much of the state, and I want to stress this right now because I know somebody's going to run with this, saying it's going to be, a one big event. We're going to have this massive thing. I want to stress right now, this is in multiple rounds. This is from Monday night to Thursday morning. The potential freezing rain and sleet is on the table for much of the area. So keep that in mind. And everybody that's asking about timing, accumulations, I haven't even looked at the comments, but those questions as well, they are very, very uncertain right now. So you're asking, why am I live? Why am I even talking about it if it's that uncertain? because you need to know going into next week. I didn't want to wait till Sunday and Monday to have a live stream to go over this potential. I wanted to do it early so you guys have a kind of a heads up. But basically in this kind of this pinkish area that you see running from Fort Smith to Russellville to Searcy to Jonesboro to Blytheville, that's where you have that freezing rain and sleet potential. Further to the south is where we're thinking the majority of the freezing rain is going to be. And you're going to, like I mentioned before, you're going to see this a lot on weather apps. So it's been back and forth between rain and freezing rain and stuff like that. It's just because model guidance is having a very, very hard time with these temperatures right now. And I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit as well. But further to the south, from DeQueen to Hope, down to El Dorado to Crossett into southwestern Arkansas, I do believe, as it stands right now, the majority of that should be a cold rain. We will have to wait and see what happens with the surface temperatures down there. I think you may range between that 33 to 35 range would keep you a cold rain. But we'll keep an eye on it here. So the time frame right now, as I mentioned before, because like I said, I hadn't even looked at the comments, time frame right now is Monday night all the way to Thursday morning. And I promise you, we're going to have specific timing, all that good information over the next 2 days. But right now, what we're trying to do here, trying to forecast this, is break it down per round. This is not all in one round or anything like that. This is going to be broken down into multiple rounds over a course of 2 to 3 days. So keep that in mind here, okay? And accumulations, everybody's asking about accumulations. No go on the accumulations right now because there's just too much uncertainty on how much is going to happen, how much moisture we're going to be dealing with, where is the cold air going to stall out, and everything like that here. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, I will say this. You can give me 1 second. Let me see if I can go over this. I will say this. For much of the area, especially north central Arkansas, I would go ahead and have that mindset for the potential of some hazardous travel. So what I would do tomorrow is, I know it's going to get colder, by the way. The cold front's going to move through tomorrow. But take advantage of that. Trim some of those weak and damaged branches off around your house and around the power lines and stuff like that if you can safely. Make sure that you're pretty good on your groceries, stuff like that. Like I mentioned before, this is not going to be like a catastrophic ice storm or anything like that, or the accumulations are going to be like 2 to 3 inches of ice. We're not forecasting that at all. We're not trying to hype this up or anything like that. We just want to make sure that you guys are ready to go. Make sure you're good with the food and prescriptions just to be on the safe side, and also make sure you keep your devices charged. That's something that you'll do closer to the event, but you get the general idea. Just have that mindset that, hey, winter weather is on the table, especially late Monday night into Tuesday. We will have to watch during the day on Tuesday and Wednesday. I do believe the majority of this should be between that Tuesday Wednesday time frame, where the lower amount should be Monday night and also Thursday night as well. So the majority of this should be Tuesday and Wednesday at this point, but specific timing maps and all the other information we just can't give to you right now accurately because there's just so much uncertainty right now. So what is our overall setup? This is our overall setup at this point, and this is the regional view. So you've got a disturbance out here in the southwest that's just going to be parked there, and what's happening with that, it's going to have these little impulses that's going to ride along the front, and it's going to tap into that Arctic cold air, and it's going to be coming south along with the warm moist air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. And that's the perfect setup for the potential of seeing freezing rain and sleet. North Arkansas, if you get cold enough, you may run the shot of seeing some snow mixed in as well. But right now, uncertainties just kind of preclude any snow mentions at this point. But this is what we've got at this time. But that Arctic front boundary is going to stall out somewhere between the I-10 and I-20 corridor down there in Louisiana. Also, we'll have to watch how far south this cold front makes it as well, because if it's way to the south, then it will allow more colder air to kind of sneak down into Arkansas, and that will better help the ice problem in central and north, but it will increase it for our folks down in South Arkansas. So either way you slice it with this setup, you're going to be dealing with the ice. It just depends on how far south this cold air is able to make it at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it back over to our graphic, our first Outlook graphic, and I'm going to answer a few questions at this point. So how long are we expecting this to last? I clicked on the road. How long are we expecting this to last on the roads? Now, the biggest thing about the roads is it depends on your temperature. And there's been a lot of disagreement with computer models right now in terms of what we're looking at for temperatures. At this moment, I would say anything right at 31, 32 degrees, Yes, you will have hazardous travel, but it should mitigate the majority of your problems, especially if it's freezing rain. You start talking anything under 31, that's when you're going to run into significant problems. So keep that in mind. Right now, temperatures are still, right now we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think if there is hazardous travel, it's mainly going to be during the nighttime hours. During the day, we have to wait and see how much we warm up. But my biggest concern is, and we saw this with the last event, northeast winds, cloud cover. In this particular event, you don't want to bust 2 or 3 degrees. Last event, it was okay because it was just mainly a snow event, stuff like that. This event, you don't want that to happen, because if you bust 2 to 3 degrees and you're at 30, let's say you're at 33 degrees, your temperatures are running 2 to 3 degrees colder. So you're talking 30, 31. That's the separation between an all rain event to a freezing rain, and even in some cases some sleet being mixed in. So keep that in mind. Like I said before, once we get a little closer tomorrow, especially on Monday morning, we're going to have a lot more on travel and everything like that. But at this given moment, I will say the majority of your problems is going to be especially during the nighttime hours here. And we'll have all that information coming up, especially tomorrow, once we get a better idea on what we're looking at here. So I am going to answer some questions here. So, Michael, great question. Is the Arctic front moving faster than expected? Notice already in Kansas, Missouri, and in Wichita, Kansas. So what we can do for just a bit is, if you give me 1 second, I can get that information up, and we can take a look and see where this Arctic front boundary is. Now, Michael, your question, the answer to your question, is going to be met with how far south does this front boundary get? We saw this with the last event, and the biggest thing that's been going on is everything has trended south. The majority of this, when we first looked at it, was a North Arkansas potential ice event. Everybody else was a cold rain. Now it has trended further south because model guidance don't handle Arctic air well at all at this point. So give me 1 second, and we'll see if I can get your front boundary up. And here it is. So we'll switch it over to our graphic here, and there's your Arctic front right here. So it's basically like where he said, right there to Kansas City, to Wichita, Kansas area, right in here. There's your Arctic high coming out of Canada at this point, and there it is right in here, and there's your front boundary right here. So this is what you have to watch and see what ends up happening. Your disturbance is going to start dropping off. Give me 1 second. Your disturbance is going to be somewhere back out here in the west. It's going to make its way into the southwest, and then what's going to happen is you're going to have southwest flow over Arctic cold air. That is a recipe. You hear this all the time, especially with TV mats and stuff like that. You hear it all the time where they say southwest flow over the Arctic air. That will always be in a recipe for ice. That will always be a recipe for ice. It will, in some cases, you can get snow. We saw this in 2021 with the Snowmageddon, where it had all that the 2 feet of snow and stuff like that, because the Arctic air was able to get that far south, and we had southwest flow over it. This time around, we're trying to figure out how far south does this cold air get. And right now, I think the better shot of seeing snowfall is going to be across Kansas and Missouri with this one. And we did with the ice potential here in Arkansas, but we just have to see how far south this cold air can make it down into Arkansas here. But good question, Michael, at this point. So, and I know, Janice, I know you're tagging one of your friends here. We just got our electricity back. Yeah, that's another problem, especially for our folks up there in North Arkansas. You guys just got through dealing with the heavy snow, the 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. We had at one point upwards to 114,000 people without power, and they just got their lights back on. We're dealing with yet another winter weather threat, so we'll keep you guys updated with that. We're making a lot of revamps on our graphics and everything, but I will say this, if you have a generator, it will be great to kind of test it just to make sure. Like I mentioned before, it's way too early to start talking about accumulations or potential impacts and all that right now. This is just a first look at what we're potentially looking at. And keep in mind, once we get a better handle on what's going to happen with the temperatures, that cold rain could come north. And this is a situation that you should not be rooting for ice. You should not be rooting for ice. You should be wanting a cold rain, because ice can cause a lot of damage, and it can cause power outages, very, very hazardous travel and everything like that. So if I was with this forecast, I would probably go more of a cold rain than an ice situation here, or even in some cases, you want that colder to come even further south, have more of a sleet potential. Yes, you still deal with damage with sleet, especially on the roadways, but it keeps your lights and stuff on. So ice is where it gets very, 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 very dangerous. So let me see here. So Mandy, like I said before, everybody's asking about school closures and stuff like that. Take a deep breath. Like I mentioned before, we're trying to get all the information for you guys right now. We don't have that information this far out because of the fact that we're still trying to nail where's the cold air going to stop, how much moisture we're going to have, how strong these little impulses are. And another thing is, especially if you're a weather enthusiast, these impulses are going to be coming out from the Baja region. So model guidance is not going to pick it up until it's literally at our doorstep. That means the HR, the RAP models, the little short range models are going to be your best friend over the next 24 to 48 hours because the main models are not going to pick it up until it gets into the Texas area and towards our area. And by that point, you're already at day one. So just kind of keep that in mind over the next 2 days here. But right now, like I mentioned before, I know everybody's trying to figure out school closures and everything. We'll have all the information coming up earlier this week. We can't, answer for any school administrators or anything like that. But I will say, late Monday night, Tuesday, throughout the day on Tuesday, we're going to struggle on Tuesday, by the way. And then Tuesday night and Wednesday, we will have to watch out, especially here in Central Arkansas. But it's a very, very questionable forecast right now here in terms of how cold does it get here in Central Arkansas at this point. So, and I mentioned before, Lee, and this is the biggest thing, questions about timing. I get this a lot, especially during these live streams. Like I mentioned before, we don't have a handle on specific area timing right now. It's not going to happen because this is broken up into multiple rounds. That's why we urge you guys so much, pay attention to the graphics. I know everybody sees the map, but you got to read the other areas on the map as well. This is a first look graphic. Things will change. I promise you guys, if you stay patient with this, we're going to have timing and all the other good stuff. But right now, with it being multiple rounds, we're trying to figure out what's the greatest timing for those multiple rounds, most accurate timing as well. We're not going to put a timing map out this early and have it change in a million times by the time we get there. So that's what we're looking at. But I will say any time frame from Monday night all the way to about Thursday morning is the game time for winter weather across the state. We could potentially be dealing with this all day on Tuesday, by the way. So keep that in mind as well. So let me see here. Let me go in here. So down there in South Arkansas, like I mentioned before, you want this to be a cold rain. I want this to be a cold rain. I don't know anybody out there that wants to deal with freezing rain and potentially impactful freezing rain where you have power outages, you can't go anywhere and everything like that. I would take either a cold rain with this setup or a snow and sleet setup, even though you can still get travel issues with the snow and sleet setup. It's way better than dealing with freezing rain. You do not want to deal with freezing rain because it causes power outages and all the other stuff. So I would personally take the cold rain, but I would say South Arkansas, far South Arkansas, talking Magnolia, Texarkana, El Dorado, those areas down there will be the best area to see that cold rain right now. But it depends who wins the battle. Is it going to be the warm air or is it going to be the cold air at this point here? So let me see here. We'll go over things. So Stephen, that's a great question. So not great question, great comment. So got my generator ready. I've got propane, 30 gallons of fuel. Boy, I'm about to come to your house, man. You got it prepared up there. So, but Jersey, that's the biggest thing. I would never want to deal with freezing rain. I never want to deal with it because it can freeze those power lines, bring trees down. And for North Arkansas's case, you want this to be snow and sleet. Now, the biggest thing with this, if you do see snow with this one, it's not going to be that heavy, wet snow. It's going to be the dry, powdered snow because of how much colder we're going to have. So you don't have to necessarily worry about the wet snow with this one. But that would be your best case scenario, especially up there because you've dealt with all those power outages and everybody's just now getting their power back on. So that would be your best case scenario up there. But I'm really concerned that I-30, I-40 area, similar to what we saw last year, that ice set up just to the southeast of Little Rock, and that's going to be the area of concern down there from probably Pine Bluff, Camden, Monticello, Lake Village, over towards Stuttgart and the Helena area up to Memphis. We're going to have to watch that closely here. We saw this last year too, where the cold air, what we call CA or cold air advection, was able to make its way down into Little Rock. And if you remember, Little Rock was forecast to see a good amount of freezing rain. We got blessed. The cold air got here just in time to switch us over to sleet. Yes, it was still, travel is hazardous no matter what. but everybody kept their lights on. But southeastern Arkansas really took the brunt from that event last year when we dealt with all that freezing rain. So now the biggest question is, are we expecting winter storm watches and winter storm warnings? I would be a betting man and say yes. Once we get a better handle on the accumulations and the particular timing, I'd say look out for it between sometime late tomorrow or during the day on Monday once we get a better handle on what we're looking at here. So as a matter of fact, JD, let's take a look at computer model guidance real quick. And we can take a look at this. Now, I used this last year, and I'm going to use it again. I think the Canadian model has a better handle versus the other models right now, excluding the NAM and all the others, which I'm going to show you in just a little bit. But we can take a look at this. So let's take this all the way out. This is during the day on Sunday, so you're going to have rain if you're planning to go out for church and everything like that during the day on Sunday. Now, there's Monday morning. You can see some freezing drizzle up here if you go with the RGM, which is basically, in layman's terms, a Canadian model. You can see some freezing drizzle up here in northwestern Arkansas first thing Monday morning. Now, here's your bulk of your precipitation coming in late Monday into early Tuesday. So this is right around 9 p.m. on Tuesday. You can see the pink, and even some cases dark pink. That's your freezing rain. Your orange is sleet, and then your blue back up here in Missouri, and Illinois, northeastern Oklahoma, into the Ohio Valley. That's your snow. So you can take a look at this, and you can see what ends up happening, and that's what I mentioned. Remember, I just said that Little Rock, Memphis, down into southeastern Arkansas, that corridor, because you've got northeast winds sneaking into northeastern eastern Arkansas, which is going to funnel down because you have no trees out there. So that's where you have the freezing rain potential over here, and that's where you're going to have to watch it closely. Now, this is 3 a.m. Monday night into early Tuesday morning, or Monday into Tuesday during the overnight hours here. And you can see you get a lull in the period first thing Tuesday morning. If this were to occur, first off, Tuesday's travel that morning on Tuesday is going to be hazardous because you're going to have freezing drizzle, sleet, and all the other stuff, and your temperatures are not going to rebound. But you can take a look and see what happens late Tuesday into Wednesday. So this is what we're meaning. It's not all in one round. It's coming in different rounds. So this is, I would say, 9 p.m. Tuesday evening here. And you can see North Arkansas gets cut because of all that cold air and all the dry air up here. Sleet here in central Arkansas. But I mean, boy, it just slams southeastern Arkansas with ice. And I will say this, the Canadian model did a decent job last year trying to forecast that ice event back then. So we'll have to keep an eye on it and keep it, like I said before, we'll keep you guys updated on that. But at this given moment, let's take a look at the Canadian model as well. There's your temperatures here. Now, this is a concern right here. Now, this is during the day on Tuesday. And notice something. These are daytime highs, by the way. And like I said before, don't go with one model and run with it and everything like that. I'm just showing you the potential scenarios. But 21 in Fayetteville, 30 here in Little Rock, 28 down there. As a matter of fact, no, 26 in Stuttgart, 23 in Memphis, 32 down there in El Dorado, 35 in Texarkana. That would be crippling ice for our folks down here in southeastern Arkansas because you're dealing with temperatures 26 to 30 degrees, which will support significant ice accumulations down here. And like I said, it doesn't take a rocket science to look at the totals and see where they're going to be at. You can see down here in southeastern Arkansas, and you take this out even further in time, look at the totals. You're talking near a half an inch, upwards to a quarter of an, 3/4 of an inch of ice down here if you go with this one model. So I think the freezing rain potential, especially straight freezing rain, is going to be for folks in central and southeastern Arkansas with this one. Southwest, we'll see. You have the mountains kind of blocking the air from getting down there, so we'll see what ends up happening down there. North Arkansas, I think you guys are going to be just cold enough to be spared of the ice event, and it's going to be mainly a sleet and potential snow event up there. But like I said before, questions remain this far in range. And you can take a look. This is the NAM model, by the way, and this is the sleet totals, and you can see what I mean here. Now, I'm going to urge this, especially with the NAM model. You notice the sleet here, especially north and central Arkansas. If you get that, along with freezing rain, and this kind of ties back to the questions I was getting about the kind of, the winter storm watches, winter storm warnings, stuff like that. In this particular case, southern and southeastern Arkansas, especially southeast Arkansas, would see an ice storm warning. Central and north Arkansas would probably see a winter storm warning because ice storms is just for freezing rain and ice totals with the freezing rain potential. The winter storm warning doesn't necessarily go for snow. It goes for freezing rain and sleet at the same time. So keep that in mind. You're going to see that probably over the next 2 days or so. Those warnings being kind of thrown out because you're going to see the ice storm warnings for those that are going to see strictly freezing rain, no sleet being anticipated in those areas. The winter storm warning is going to go for both freezing rain and sleet and the potential of seeing some snow. But like I said before, just if you're a snow lover, I get it. I get the frustration. I don't see a lot of snow with this. I think the majority of the snow is going to be up in Kansas, Missouri, over into the Ohio Valley, missing us here in Arkansas. We just have to wait and see what ends up happening with that at this point. But I think mainly a freezing rain and sleet event here. And you can see there's the NAM. I mean, boy, look at her. There's Tuesday evening here. Freezing rain across much of central Arkansas, down into southeastern Arkansas over to Memphis. Sleet across north Arkansas. You see a little bit of snow trying to get going. You just can't do it. And then in far southern Arkansas, basically our first outlook map at this point, from Texarkana to Magnolia, El Dorado, over across it will be a cold rain for now. But let's take a look at your temperatures here. Like I said before, don't go running off of one model. Look at those temperatures. I mean, boy, you are so borderline down there in South Arkansas. It's not funny. 30 to 32 across much of the area. North Arkansas is in the 20s. And we can take this out even further into the night. And this is where you're going to start having problems. 29, 30 degrees with freezing rain could lead to some issues here across the state here. So, JD, to answer your question, I think I just answered about the ice storm warnings. If it does happen, it's going to be in southeastern Arkansas, and it really depends on the overall accumulation here. Now, we can take a look at the freezing rain total, and you can see where the freezing rain here. Now, this is the first round. This is Monday night, into Tuesday night, into Wednesday. So it's really targeting that I-30 to I-40 corridor from, I would say, Nashville to Little Rock, over to Memphis, up to Jonesboro. That little area right in here in central Arkansas and east central Arkansas. So right now, in terms of the warnings and the watches and all the other good stuff, we got to figure out where the totals are going to be at. And we're going to get a convergence on the agreement on those totals. So right now, with us being Saturday night, we're not expecting this. We're not expecting watches or anything to get issued until at the earliest late tomorrow, or even in some cases very, 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 very early Monday morning here. So we'll kind of keep you guys updated on that. And you guys know full well if any watches or warnings get issued, we'll be here across the state here. So I know everybody's kind of asking, about counties and cities and all the other good stuff. Like I mentioned before, and I want to stress this too, once we get into this event, you got to know where you live. You got to know your counties. You got to know your cities. With the last event, we had a lot of frustrated people because we weren't answering city and county questions because they were just overwhelming. You got to know where you live, folks. We tell you guys this all the time with severe, with winter, with tropical, anything. You got to know where you live. It's a priority thing. So keep that in mind. We'll have all the information on the page so you're not really missing anything. But right now, I would say that we can go back over to our first outlook map. North Arkansas right now stands the best shot of getting away from freezing rain because I think the cold air is going to get to you guys a lot quicker than what model guys is trying to throw out. Another concern I have, and I've talked to Cam and other forecasters about this, is if models is underdoing the cold air. Now, at the surface, that sounds great on paper because you're thinking, oh man, if it's colder, then we'll be dealing with snow, right, or sleet. No, that won't be the case because this is shallow Arctic air. This is not the deep Arctic air we saw back in December where we fell into, and I think we were down at some point down in North Arkansas, down in the negative teens and everything like that. It's not going to be that cold. This is a very shallow air mass coming south. That's why you have the ice there. So you fall temperature-wise, sounds great on paper. You're down to 26, 27 degrees, and you're going to think, why in the world is it raining? It's because what's going on above your head, aloft. If you have a lot of warm air, and I've seen extreme cases before where you've been at the surface, 26, 27 degrees, but you go probably, I think, 5,000 feet in the air, and you're at 45, 50 degrees, and you're dealing with freezing rain, and significant freezing rain. So keep that in mind across the board. We'll watch it closely, but I'm really worried from that Arkadelphia, Little Rock, Memphis, point southeast area from now. I think southeast Arkansas will probably be dealing with another freezing rain event down there, especially if temperatures continue to trend colder as they are, because this is now looking at one point a North Arkansas ice event to now a central and a southeastern Arkansas ice event, with North Arkansas potentially getting spared. But we're going to have to watch that line closely, because if temperatures warm back up, then North Arkansas gets right back into the freezing rain vents at this point. But definitely things are kind of trending colder at this point. So Conway is like right on that border, and I realized that with the graphic. So is it too early to tell which event is favored over the area? So if you're like right there on that border, you're still going to see freezing rain. The difference between that reddish color and the purple color is the sleet. Are you going to see mainly a freezing rain event, or you're going to see a sleet event? That's the biggest question at this point. So Conway right now stands the best shot of seeing freezing rain. I think with you being further north, you may see some sleet kind of thrown in with that. But like I say, it's still a little too early to kind of get into all those specific details. But I definitely watch it. So over the weekend, like I mentioned before, don't wait till the day of to go out and do stuff. Don't do that. Stay proactive. Have a game plan ready to go. If it trends warmer, goes back to cold rain, awesome. Like I mentioned before, I don't think anybody would be complaining if this end up being a cold rain situation, because I don't want to be dealing with ice with this one. But if that does happen, like I mentioned before, have a game plan ready to go. Go to the grocery store, have that game plan and stuff like that. You guys know full well, if anything trends in either direction, we're going to be here during the day tomorrow, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. We're going to be here nonstop, 24/7. So we'll be here keeping you guys updated on that here. So let me see here. Dustin, thank you for getting that. Let's see here. So on Thursday, I-30 to I-40 from Dallas to Memphis. I'm going to put a betting man on that, and I'm going to say no, because you're going to be dealing with freezing rain and sleet. And temperatures on Thursday, right now, let's take a look. I'm gonna use the Canadian. I think the Canadian's doing a decent job with the cold air. Like I said, you don't want to lean on either other model, but temperatures do warm up on Thursday. I do see that back into the mid-30s, which will help out roadways. So I'd say if you're planning to travel on Thursday, do it late. Don't do it first thing in the morning, because like I mentioned before, if the worst case scenario happens and everybody's on that quote-unquote lockdown Tuesday to Wednesday, then what's going to happen first thing Thursday morning, everybody's going to get out. Everybody's going to have the same idea and getting out, and it's going to create havoc. So I'd say if you're planning on traveling, I'd do it late. Late Thursday, like Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening and stuff like that. You should be good to go by then, because temperatures should warm back up into the upper 30s to low 40s here. So this shouldn't be like a week-long event or anything like that. It should be something that we'll just kind of deal with for 2 days, and then temperatures get above freezing by the time we get towards Thursday here. So due to the timing of the event, we all go live tomorrow. Definitely we'll be here. Like I mentioned before, we're not going to be here at this point. Cal, he's our art dot guy. Folks, I cannot be more serious when I say this. Do not drive in this. Get your supplies this weekend and be prepared. If you got to go out in this, you will likely get stranded. Roads will be absolutely terrible. This comes from RDOT. He works with RDOT. Like I mentioned before, if you see freezing rain and sleet, and like I mentioned, and I've seen this a lot, I will take cold rain over ice any day of the year. I take a cold rain any day, because freezing rain, he'll be the first one to tell you freezing rain is a nightmare to deal with, especially on the interstates, because it counteracts the salt they put down on the roads and everything. So if this does happen, like I mentioned before, it's a first look graphic and everything like that, but if it does occur, be prepared. But I'd go ahead this weekend, have that game plan, say, hey, this is what we've got. We're going to have to watch this. And, it's always good to stay prepared in advance versus trying to do everything at the very last minute here. So just now tuning in. Thank you, Faith, for tuning in at this point. And so before, I do appreciate you guys tuning in as well. We got over 178,000 followers on this page. It is incredible how many people trust us and how many people tune into these live streams. You guys are awesome. So if you guys are tuning in late, don't feel bad. You're going to have all the information on the page, and you can always rewind the live streams here. But just forever grateful for you guys being here at this point. So let me see here. Yeah, JD. Yeah, it don't take much. It don't take much. I saw your typo. I overlooked it. But anyways, yeah, it doesn't take much of freezing rain. As a matter of fact, the bare minimum of seeing impacts, and I've seen some cases where some folks have gotten 1/10 of an inch of ice and had some travel issues here. The minimum per most of your data and everything is 1/4 inch of ice to see impacts. But anything less than that, especially, you start talking 1/10 inch of ice and stuff like that, that can create havoc on the roadways. So, yeah, I agree. It don't take much. You don't need 2 inches of ice to cause issues here. I've seen some significant stuff go down, even with 1/4 inch of ice. So, keep that in mind at this point. Yeah, and that's the thing. Even sleet can be bad, especially on the roads. Now, what sleet does, it keeps you from experiencing power outages. It doesn't stick to the power lines or, blow up any transformers or anything like that. So it does help in that nature, but you can't go anywhere because your roads become trash at that point, especially on how much sleet can develop here. And I'm going to tell you guys something cool about sleet as well. It is very hard to melt. It is not something like snow where it's here one hour and then it starts melting away. It's very hard to melt snow because it's practically those little mini ice balls. And if you take an ice cube out of the freezer and you let it sit there and not 90 or 100 degree temperatures, but like room temperature, if you let it sit there, yes, it does melt. But notice how slow it melts. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes its sweet time. So that's what happens with sleet. And especially if it starts compounding into those other little sleet pellets that are on the ground, it can really stay there for a long period of time. I've seen sleet last as long as up to a week before it fully melted. So that's the biggest thing with sleet as well. It screws your travel up, but it keeps your lights on. So let me see here. So for Shane, I know you're just tuning in. Right now, accumulations and stuff like that, it's a no-go. It's a no-go on accumulations right now because, like I mentioned before, guidance right now is still trying to figure it out, still trying to get a convergence on the accumulation. But I figured I'd go live tonight, give you guys some sort of an update because you guys have been hearing about it so much and you haven't really heard those updates. So I figured I'd go ahead and do that tonight. But I'd say right now, if there ever be a rough draft of accumulations, I'd be a betting man and say Southeast Arkansas still to show with the ice with this one. I think North and Central Arkansas, especially North Arkansas, with the amount of cold air coming in, you guys may be spared up there from the freezing rain. You still would deal with sleet, maybe a little bit of snow up there. Snow's not going to be you're not going to deal with snow with this one. You just got too much warm air aloft. And I'll explain that here in just a little bit. But to Shane, answer your question, accumulations right now is very tough to forecast, but patience with us. And I promise you guys we'll be getting those accumulation maps out as early as possible here. So, I saw over there in West Texas over there is supposed to get ice as well because it's southwest flow. And let's go back to that real quick. And this is what we mean. So you've got an Arctic boundary that's set up right there in South Texas, Central Louisiana, and into the Dixie area, there, Mississippi, Alabama. South of the boundary, severe threat. North of the boundary, ice, freezing rain, freezing rain, ice, same thing. Freezing rain, sleet, and a little bit of snow, especially in Kansas, Missouri, and over to Illinois. But Texas will be dealing with it as well because the cold air, remember, West Oklahoma out there in the Texas panhandle is flat. There's no trees or anything. Cold air is just going to funnel in very quickly. So areas along the Red River is going to have to watch it as well. And then it comes in Arkansas. And you guys know the saying here, especially here in Arkansas, if Dallas gets slammed, Central Arkansas is likely going to get slammed. So that's what's ending up going to happen with that one. You can see the track of the low rise along the boundary. Cold air already in place, so you don't have to worry about that. Moisture coming in over that cold air. Your lift is coming with that system, and that sets you up for the potential of seeing freezing rain by the time we get towards your late Monday, Tuesday. I think the majority of this will be Tuesday night and an early Wednesday morning, and then it should be getting out of here by late Wednesday night and early Thursday morning here. But I say Thursday morning is where you're going to have the problems here across the board. So let me see here. So Russellville to Fayetteville Thursday morning. And like I mentioned before, I know everybody's trying to figure out travel right now. Okay, I get it. I understand. You're at the weekend. You're trying to plan ahead, and I love that so much. But right now, I just don't have a handle on the overall travel or anything like that because you're still early. And I know that's going to cause a lot of people to tune out, stuff like that. Don't tune out because I'm doing this live stream for a reason. That way you have a plan. You have basically, I'm putting a foundation down with this one. I'm putting the foundation down with this, and then we get into Sunday, we get into Monday. we'll have more information, so you'll be able to build more into that foundation of the plan. But I'd say from Russellville to Fayetteville Thursday morning, it depends. If you end up with sleet, it's going to cause some travel issues, but it's not going to be as significant as dealing with straight freezing rain. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Diana, I believe, Diane, excuse me, I apologize for the butcher name, but that's something that we're going to have to watch first thing Thursday morning. There's going to be a lot of people kind of figuring that out because, if, like I said before, Tuesday, Wednesday goes down, everybody's going to try to get out the exact same time on Thursday, and it's going to cause a lot of issues on the road. So we'll keep you guys updated on that at this point. So, Philip, to answer your questions, yes, and more yes. Remember, at one point, this was a North Arkansas only event. This was only supposed to be, Fayetteville, the Mountain View, over to Walnut Ridge, Jonesboro, North Arkansas event. Freezing rain up there, cold rain elsewhere down in central South Arkansas. Notice how far south your cold rain gets at this point. It's all the way down to Texarkana, Magnolia, south of El Dorado now, and south across it. That's how much colder your data has gotten over the last couple of days here, and it continues to get even colder once we get closer to the event. And I was talking with Arklatet's Weather Center, Michael Monica, Kevin Connacht, stuff like that. I was talking with them, and we have these same concerns. We think Multigadis right now, maybe still, even as cold as it's trended, it may still be warmer than what we're anticipating right now. So something I'd watch closely. But southeast Arkansas, I think that's going to be your area of concern at this point. So Kevin, right now, to be honest with you, brother, I haven't even looked that far in range because I've been so focused with this one. If something does come up down the road, we'll let you know. Right now, I'm going to say a no. At this point, because your temperatures are going to start to warm up once you get past this event. I can take this out, as a matter of fact. Let's take a look at the Euro, because I haven't even looked any further out. No, that's going to be a no, because your temperatures start to warm up by the time we get towards mid-February here. So we'll see. Like I said before, we still got all February, March, stuff like that to get snow, but this is where we start dealing with the ice potential, especially Southeast Ridge trying to nudge its way back in. The Arctic Ridge saying we're not having none of that here, and you get a battle. So that's what's going on at this point. But Kevin, if that does come up, we'll let you guys know as well. And also, what I do, especially over the next couple of days, is save that iDrive Arkansas link. That's a great link to see your travel issues, to see how road conditions are. Obviously, we're going to have it here on the page, and I'm actually constructing a graphic that's going to show all your localized roads and stuff like that. So we're going to try to have that up for this upcoming event. If I don't, then we'll have it for the next one. But that's the biggest thing. But use iDrive, because they're going to be very, very busy. That server's going to be very, very busy keeping up with the road conditions and everything like that. But nighttime is really going to be your treacherous point. That's where it's going to be. So what I would do, Monday you should be good. Northwest Arkansas is the exception. We'll see. You may see some freezing drizzle up there. We'll have to wait and see what happens up there. But for Monday, during the day, you should be relatively good to go because temperatures are going to be above freezing. It's going to be a raw, cold day on Monday, cloud-covered northeast winds, some rainfall. It's going to be one of those days on Monday where your temperature's falling pretty quickly. Monday night, Tuesday, when I'd say if there's any time frame for people to not really get out and travel, it's going to be that Tuesday through Thursday time frame, because that's where we're really expecting the winter weather here. And I think, especially tonight, during the day, tomorrow, we're going to be kind of grinding the data, and I'm not talking one specific model. We look at, on an average, 20 to 25 model data pieces along with the ensemble guidance. So we look at a ton of data, we combine it, and we also kind of throw in our own thoughts from previous experiences and everything. We kind of generate our maps here. So right now, yeah, I'd say that Tuesday, Wednesday time frame would be your best time to see that at this point. So, hello from Fayetteville. Thank you for tuning in. Let me see. Temperatures need to be warmer. That's the thing. Like I mentioned before, I'm going to down that hill, but I'd take a cold rain any day than freezing rain and sleet at this point here. Now, the biggest thing, Jason, with that comment is it's so uncertain right now. And I can actually pull it up. So it's so uncertain with this right now because you're a day early. You're trying to see what model guidance is going to do. The reason why we put this out right now is because we already know what's getting ready to happen. It's this, And it's not so much as what model guys want to do, or this model does this or this model does that. 9 times out of 10, especially close range like this, we hardly bother with the model data. We kind of use our own experience. This is somewhat similar to what we saw last year, where you had the Arctic air coming south, warm air coming out of the Gulf system. Southwest flow will always scream ice, unless you're in the spring and and your polar jet is further to the north. Then it's severe weather. But in this particular case, southwest flow over incoming cold air will always figure out some sort of winter weather. It depends on how much cold air you have. Sometimes, like I mentioned before, in 2021, we saw the exact same pattern. Massive snow event. We saw it in 2022. Ice event. We're probably going to see it again here about next 2 days. It's going to be an ice event with this one because your cold air is just not deep enough to make it in Arkansas. So, like I mentioned before, it's no disrespect to anybody else that's trying to forecast this. I get it, but I just figured the overall pattern, just is pattern recognition. We know it's coming. We've seen this setup. We've seen what it's capable of doing. We've got a game plan at this point of what's getting ready to happen, and the model guidance really supports it too. So that's what we have to kind of answer your question, Jason. Sorry for that, but yeah, Jason, to answer your question here. So let me see here. So I will say some folks look at sleet better than ice and power outages. Roadways is going to be difficult. And I agree, Cal, with that. I mean, it's pick your poison with freezing rain and sleet. Freezing rain, it's power outages. Your roads are trash. You can't do squat unless you have a generator. Sleet, you have your power. That's awesome, but you can't go anywhere because the roads are trash. So pick your poison with that. I would say in terms of road conditions, you can't get out of it because it's going to be trash no matter where you go. But if you go with power outages, if you really want to keep your power on, you would really want to go with sleet versus freezing rain because sleet doesn't accumulate on the power lines or anything like that. But road-wise, once it gets pat down, it's no different. It is no different than freezing rain. I fully agree, man. I fully agree. So, Jeremy, to answer your question, I'd go ahead and do it just to be on the safe side like I mentioned before. If this trends north and it comes back warmer, that's going to be awesome. It'll be a cold rain setup for much of Arkansas. North Arkansas, unfortunately, will have to deal with the ice. Whoever is on a battle zone of this is going to deal with ice, no matter where it sits up. If it trends warmer, it's going to be southern Missouri, North Arkansas. If it trends colder, it's going to be South Arkansas, North Louisiana. So no matter where you go with this setup, it's going to support ice. You can't get out of it. It just depends on the location. So to be proactive, go ahead. If you don't see ice, awesome. Like I mentioned before, I wouldn't be complaining about not seeing ice. But if you do, you have that game plan ready to go. And I will say this, if we do see that freezing rain coming in, it is going to cause a lot of issues on the roadways as well. So, the GFS has been having a lot of issues. I've had a lot of people ask me about the GFS. The GFS is hanging up the frontal boundary aloft, and it's keeping the colder air from surging south. And I'm going to tell you why that's not going to be the case. It's because of the type of Arctic air mass coming in. The last system we dealt with, we didn't, and I stressed this a lot last event, we didn't have the deep cold air needed to support widespread snow. That's why a lot of people got cut off. A lot of people saw rainfall while others were seeing snow, some saw sleet, stuff like that. We had that, what we call that marginal cold air. It was just there enough to get snowfall, but it wasn't enough to get everybody snowfall. This time around, you have a much deeper Arctic air mass coming south. So that tells you everything you need to know. GFS is likely running warmer, and it's likely to bust. That's why I'm not really watching the GFS right now, because for it to have just straight rain for everybody, it's not going to happen. Your pattern is just your cold air is that deep coming south to support an ice setup for somebody. It's just trying to figure out who's going to see what. And I'm going to tell you this, cloud cover plus northeast winds equals a bust every time. Save that formula because it's good. It's good for forecasting. So, folks, I know traveling due to the healthcare. I know traveling due to being in healthcare, we don't get to miss work. I feel so sorry for you. I'm sorry that has to happen because you're getting out in that kind of conditions. But I do fully appreciate what you do. Please always, if you have to be in your vehicle. Make sure your phone's charged, snacks, plenty of water, extra clothing, flashlights, blankets. Love your comment, Barbara. Love it. Absolutely love it. If you have to get out, I say this. Every job is not that important to get out. And especially in like very, very hazardous situations. But I do, like I said, in her particular situation, being in healthcare, if you have to get out, if you can do it safely, have that in your car just to be on the safe side, just in case, and make sure you're slowing down as well. But I understand that completely, because a lot of people don't, a lot of jobs will say, no, you can't come in. But in that particular case, especially like Cal, for example, RDOT, emergency management, healthcare, stuff like that, where they can't say no, that's where you have to be careful on the roadway. So I do agree. Just stay prepared, have that game plan. If this ends up being a cold rain, Arkansas, it's going to be fine. Like I mentioned before, we're not forecasting any massive snow or anything like that. This is ice. This is something that you want a cold rain out of. I'd get it if it was snow, but this type of situation is cold ice. Not cold ice. It's ice with this one. It's freezing rain. It's sleet. So you really want a cold rain with this setup here. So let me see here. So I've had a lot of people also compare this, especially on social media, to 2000 and 2009. Kevin Conrad, a lot of meteorologists will stand on this hill. Those two events were generational events. When we mean generational events, that means that it's very, very hard to repeat itself. Notice something. 2021, remember that big snow again, and we got to dealing with, everybody saw it. We're 2 years away from that, and we haven't seen it repeat itself yet. So that's what I mean. That's what happens with those generational events. Like for an example, April 27, 2011, that was a generational tornado outbreak in the southeast. You're not going to repeat that unless something massive comes together. That's what we mean by generational events. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just very, very hard to get it to repeat itself, because those generational events, everything lined up so perfectly. I mean, everything was perfectly. But in this situation, all it takes is this thing the warm air to surge north further than what we're expecting. This changes over to a cold rain. Or the cold air is further deeper than we're expecting. North Arkansas sees snow. Everybody sees a sleet storm. South Arkansas gets screwed over by freezing rain. So that's what we mean by that here. So right now, I'm going to say no. This is not going to be a 2000 or a 2009 repeat where we saw that catastrophic ice. I pray it doesn't get that bad, but the potential is there, and I want to stress this too. It does not take a lot of freezing rain. You don't need 2 to 3 inches of freezing rain to cause issues. You can get 1/10 of an inch of ice or 1/4 of an inch of ice, and it can still cause power outages. It can still cause travel issues and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. But I'm going to answer your question, Amy. That's going to be a no. I'm not comparing this to 2000 or 2009 with this setup here, and I hope it doesn't get to that level. I really hope it doesn't get to that level, but we shall see at this point. So that's the thing. Make sure you're reading the map as well. Right now, we're trending ice at this point because of the pattern. This is not so much as, the NAM model saying this, so we're going with the NAM, or the Canadian model saying this, and we're going with that. No. The overall pattern, I can show you guys this too. This is what we're looking at. So this is your pattern right here at this point. And the comment went away, and I'm going to pull it back up. So there's your comment at this point, okay? So look at the map. Like I mentioned before, a few degrees in temperatures will make a huge difference. This is a setup that you do not want to bust 2 to 3 degrees right now. If you're at that fine 33 and you're celebrating, you think it's cold rain, and your temperatures bust, like if you're 33 on guidance and your temperatures bust by 2 to 3 degrees, you're in the freezing rain. So you don't want to. You're right now at this point, you're on that borderline between seeing a cold rain and a freezing rain. And I really hope that temperatures are not too warm with guidance, because if that's the case, then you could be setting up for a pretty decent ice event across the area. But yeah, prepare for power outages so you're not caught off guard, and stay with us. We're going to have another live stream tomorrow evening and stuff like that. We're going to have all the information. Like I mentioned before, everybody's trying to figure out, why am I live if I'm not going over timing? It's to give you a heads up. It's to give you guys some sort of heads up instead of blindsiding you 24 to 48 hours out saying you need to do this, you need to do that. I'd rather do it 72 and not have any kind of, specifics. That way you guys have a game plan ready to go. So let me see here now. What I'm going to do for just a second, I know the NAM model is not going to be out, but I'm going to take a look at the HR. And I want to say, there it is. So we're going to switch this over to Monday at this point. So this is the HR. This is the HR coming in. Like I mentioned before, up here in northwestern Arkansas, I'm real curious to see what ends up happening out of this, because there could be some freezing drizzle or some freezing drizzle up here. But look at there. There's your precipitation beginning to come in, and I'm gonna tell you this right now. Per temperatures, cold across the state. 28, 28, 29, 30. That, up there in northwestern Arkansas, you can see some problems as early as Monday morning. So I would see that we're going to continue to trend probably a winter weather advisory up here. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that, especially Sunday night and the Monday morning, which will be tomorrow night and the Monday morning. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, your temperatures are cold. This is noon on Monday, by the way. 36, 37 degrees in Little Rock. You've got 43, 44 in South Arkansas. You can definitely see, and I can show you guys this. We push this through. Look at tomorrow, by the way. Look at your temperatures really warming up during the day tomorrow in South Arkansas. No severe weather is expected tomorrow, by the way. But front boundary swings through, and then you can see it begins to stall out right there in central Mississippi, down to central Louisiana, down into southeastern Texas. So it begins to stall out. But there's your Arctic air mass, and this is how cold, this is that deep Arctic air mass I was telling you guys about. Those 14, 15, 16 degrees temperatures. Had we had this cold air with the last event, we'd have been dealing with a widespread snow event. Just going to tell you that right now. So that's always been the case here in Arkansas. You've had marginal cold air and a ton of moisture, or you've had a ton of cold air and not enough moisture at this point. But I'm going to show you guys one more thing real quickly, and I'm going to get back to the questions on why we're seeing the ice threat. So this is what we call the 850 millibar level, and this is your mid-level at this point. And the 0Z is now running, so I have to back this up to the 18Z. So I can show you that real quickly here. So you can notice something, okay? This is Monday night, Tuesday, okay? Remember, all that winter weather you were seeing down here in Central and South Arkansas. Your temperatures, this is your 32-degree line at 850 millibars, or basically up in the atmosphere, or layman's terms, in the middle of the atmosphere. So you're below freezing up here in northwestern Arkansas. So anything behind this white line is supportive of snow at this layer. Notice what happens you get into central and south Arkansas. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're thinking, man, that's super cold, right? This is in Celsius. So you've got temperatures down here in central and south Arkansas, 40s to even in some cases near 50 degrees at your mid-level. But you get down to the surface where we are, what we see on a daily basis, and you're at 31, 32 degrees. So remember what I said earlier in the extreme case where you've had 50 degrees over your head, but at the surface you're at 32, or in some cases 31, 30, 29, 28. That's where you get that significant icing potential, because the snowflakes, remember, snowflakes fall, they melt to water, and then they fall down. The water freezes on contact because you're below freezing where we are, and that's what leads to enough freezing rain potential where it starts accumulating on trees, starts accumulating on power lines and stuff like that. So something to keep an eye on here at this point. Seth, to answer your question, at this point, I botched it up, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I botched it up with the last event. I was like, oh man, it's not going to be that big of a situation with the power. Ended up with 114,000 power outages. I looked at that power outage map, and I was like, I really should have gotten the power outage map out on the page. Oh well. This time around, given the setup, Seth, and depending on who sees what with the ice, I would be a betting man and say that you'll be dealing with the power outage potential. Right now, like I mentioned before, for you to see high levels of power outages, you would need either a quarter of an inch of ice or higher, because it has to start accumulating in the power lines, and basically it starts adding weight to the power line. So think of it like this. If a whole tree comes down on the power line, it's adding weight to it and eventually snaps off the power pole and you lose power. That's how ice works. It accumulates on the power lines and it weighs those power lines down so much that it pops off the pole, and that's how you get the power outages, or it pops off the transformer, and that's how you get power outages. So that's how it works. So right now, I'd say 50-50 right now with the power outages. It just depends on who sees the majority of freezing rain. I'm not talking just all sleet or anything like that. Who sees all freezing rain with this setup? And my money right now is on southeastern Arkansas seeing this at this point. So Yeah, I hardly drive on snow as on the ground, but sleet and snow is a firm no. I wish others thought that way too. Stay home. I agree. I agree at this point. So, can you explain how southwestern Arkansas is tricky to forecast? Not saying I don't trust you. Just curious on why the majority seen freezing rain and southwest is just a cold rain. Give you a little bit of a geography lesson here, Chandler. It all depends on your mountains. And I tell you this all the time. If Arkansas didn't have mountains here, we'd be seeing our pattern here would be ridiculous. You'd see a lot more severe weather. You'd see a lot more winter weather, especially snow. You'd see a lot more snow here in Arkansas if we did not have the Ozarks and the Ouachita Mountains. That does not mean go take down the mountains. Don't do that, please. But that's what would happen. So basically, the reason why southwestern Arkansas, and I love the representation of this, and I can show you why. So let's go over to the wind real quickly. You're going to notice something as soon as I change this over to wind. Now, this is concerning. For my folks down there in southwestern Arkansas. At first, it was what we call a true northeast wind coming straight out of the Ohio Valley, where you saw those single-digit to teens, those temperatures up there. So that cold air was able to funnel its way down into eastern Arkansas and southeastern Arkansas, which is be supportive of freezing rain. Southwest Arkansas, you're blocked off of the Ouachitas and the Ozarks. Now, there's a caveat to this. Northeast winds will steer that colder air into southwestern Arkansas, and that's what you've gotten. You've got northerly to northeasterly winds sneaking its way into southwest Arkansas. Right now, you're borderline. You're at 32, 33 degrees, which will be supportive of a cold rain / freezing rain. That's why I have it so far south. Notice something too. Over here in eastern Arkansas, how your winds pick up. Over here in southwest, you're at 5 to 10 miles per hour. You go to eastern Arkansas, you're talking 10 to 15 miles per hour because you have no trees out here. This is a very flat land out here in eastern Arkansas. That's why a lot of teachers love it when severe weather strikes, because you can see storms coming your way very, very easily. So over here in eastern Arkansas, you have no trees. So the cold air is able to funnel down quicker than expected. That's why we have the ice all the way down to Ashley and Chico County, while others don't, because we're accounting for that cold air to make it that far south. Southwest Arkansas, you're in that you've got two mountains blocking you right now from getting the cold air that far south. However, if you get northeast winds to travel around, and I say this all the time as well, if the Arctic air cannot get over the mountains, it will find its way around the mountains, and most guys will not pick that up until it's occurring. So that's the situation down there in southwestern Arkansas. I want to make this clear. I took no offense. If you don't trust anything like that, that's understandable. I understand that too. So that's the reason why it's so tricky to forecast, because you have to pay attention to where your wind flow comes. Because if it's straight north, especially with this shallow air mass coming in, it's going to have a hard time getting over the mountains, and you're going to end up at 35, 36 degrees down there in southwest Arkansas, as opposed to Arkansas County, Stuttgart, where you're at 28 with freezing rain. So that's hopefully that makes sense to you, but that's the reason why southwest Arkansas is that big question mark right now with that at this point. So I'm good with no repeat. I'm with you, Amy. I'd take a cold rain at this point. So, Kathy, the difference between freezing rain and sleet. Sleet is those little mini ice balls. That's all it is. It's just little sleet pellets, little ice pellets. That's all they are. And they compact on the ground, and they lead to basically a solid sheet of ice. And it stings whenever you're outside trying to deal with it as well. Freezing rain, on the other hand, it's going to look like regular rain. And I'm already seeing the questions too coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's 27 degrees. Why is it pouring down raining? I'm telling you now, it's freezing rain. It's not pouring down raining, it's freezing rain. Basically what that means is that the rain that's falling is freezing on contact. That's why it camouflages itself, because it looks like regular rain, and it kind of steers you to be like, oh, hey, it's just raining out here. I can go travel. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. It ain't worth it. If you're at 27 and you've got heavy rainfall, you're dealing with freezing rain, and you're likely dealing with a lot of road issues at that point as well. So keep that in mind going into Tuesday. Log that in your head. If you're seeing heavy rainfall and it's 27 or below freezing, it's not regular rain. I promise you, it's not regular rain. So now, people without a generator or anything like that, if in this particular case, if you don't have one, it's not the end of the world. You know, not everybody can afford one of those $4,000 generators and everything like that. That's perfectly understandable. If you don't have a generator, what you can do, invest in one of these battery packs. I can show you real quickly. Give me 1 second. It's right over here. So invest in one of these. This is a battery pack, and as small as this bad boy is, it can last up to 24 hours on power. That will charge your phones, that will charge your tablets and everything like that. You can get one of those battery packs, same thing with that as well. Or if you don't have a generator and stuff like that, and you have no other source of getting power, stay with a friend that's not expecting freezing rain. And if that can't be the case, then what you can do is just make sure if the power does go out, refrigerator stay closed, freezer stay closed, and you limit everything. Like if you have to get in the refrigerator every 2 to 3 hours, don't go in every 5 seconds because that's how your food will spoil. Now, in this case, with it being this cold, it is going to slow down your spoilage process. However, I would still wouldn't do it because even then, even you're at 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 degrees, your temperatures are going to warm up on Thursday and the Friday. So that's what it can lead to those the food spoiling if the refrigerator is not cold enough. So just leave it alone. If you don't have it, I also would suggest getting blankets. If you have to, I do believe, I don't know if they sell this like a Home Depot or whatever, you can get one of those heaters, those little portable heaters that's battery powered as well, that they sell. I don't know if they actually sell them inside Home Depot or you have to go on a website, but you can get one of those as well here. But that was a really good question here. But Cass, to answer your question as well, freezing rain and sleet, that's the difference between the two. Let's see here. So yeah, so Kevin, the HR 36, a bone-chilling 36 degrees at 3 p.m. on Monday. And Kevin, I'm gonna be honest with you, bud. I think that might be a little overdone because you have northeast winds, you've got cloud cover. I hope you're at 30. I hope you're a little warmer than that, but I'm really concerned that temperatures may be overdone for that Monday time frame here. But you can see what ends up happening. Let's take this out a little bit further. This is the HR coming in, and we're going to go out to precipitation type, and this is going to be during the day on Monday. Now this is Monday afternoon. This is 3 p.m. You're at 36 degrees, like you mentioned down here in Southwest Arkansas. Majority of this is a cold rain across the state. And then what it ends up doing, it keeps in the North Arkansas for this one. And this is round number 1. We'll see what ends up happening. HR may be running a little bit too warm with this one. Let me see if I can get it down to 1 hour. And yeah, it's running I think it's running a little bit too warm for this setup here. So we'll have to wait and see. But you can see this is 6 p.m. Monday, 35, 37 here in Metro. Down here in Southwest Arkansas, you're clinging to 40. You're still below freezing up here in North Arkansas. Remember, the HR, 48 hours out, you never want to trust it. It will change over time once you get a better handle on the environment, the cold air, and everything like that. So I think it's overdoing the temperatures. We shall see what ends up happening with that. I think I'm going to let the HR kind of simmer itself over the next couple of runs before I start harping on it. But there's your difference, and there's the NAM coming in with the faster front. Temperatures rapidly falling below freezing down here in northwestern Arkansas here. But yeah, it has 36 degrees at 3 p.m. on Monday with a very, very cold northeasterly wind and cloud cover. I'll be real interested to see how temperatures play out on Monday here. So yeah, I feel bad for southern and southeastern Arkansas. I do agree. They had severe weather. You had confirmed tornadoes down there in December, and then the last snow event, you didn't even see snow down there. It was a cold rain, and then now you have a shot of winter weather, but it's not snow, it's ice. So you guys have been dealing with a lot down there in southeastern Arkansas. A lot of people lost that power. The snow was super heavy up there in Moleston. Like I mentioned before, I was kicking myself for not having a power outage graphic here because I was back and forth by making one. But I was like, you know what? It's not going to be, that significant power outages. 114,000 later tells a different story. So, lesson learned with that one here. So, what's worse, sleet or freezing rain? My opinion, freezing rain. It just depends. It's travel versus power outages. If you're wanting to keep your lights on, freezing rain is going to be your worst nightmare. If you want to keep your power on, your sleet's going to be your best friend, but you can't go nowhere. So you have to plan for both at this point. So do the winds look to be a problem this go around? Great question. This given point, and you know what's funny, I said the exact same thing with the last event, that the wind shouldn't be that big of a situation. This given point, we shall see. I can see wind gusts over here, 25 miles per hour, maybe a little higher over here in eastern Arkansas, where you're away from the trees, you're away from the mountains over here. I can see that setup. We'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with that, because if you start getting freezing rain over here with these wind gusts, it will lead to problems. Even at 15 to 20 miles per hour, it's going to lead to problems. So we'll watch it closely down here, over here in eastern Arkansas and southeastern Arkansas. Western Arkansas, I'm going to say no, and I pray that I'm not wrong, but I'm going to say no to that question right now in terms of the massive wind problem. But over here in eastern Arkansas, I would watch it closely, Michael, at this point. So thank y'all for tuning in, by the way. At this point, I'm going to go take down those mountains, man. Hey, I didn't see that comment. Did you guys see it? I didn't see it, so we're going to leave it with that. So, yeah, northeasterly winds can filter. That's what I was getting at, Kevin. Northeasterly winds can filter down in the southwestern Arkansas at a time. A strong component prolonged and air model transitions temperatures in southwest Arkansas to below freezing Tuesday night. It's a borderline situation down there. That's why we have that, what we call that rain, freezing rain on our graphic, Kevin. It's a very, very borderline situation with this one. You can take a look at that. That's what we have. So Kevin's down here in southwest Arkansas. By the way, he's with that Arklatex Weather Center page. They do one great of a job down here covering southwestern Arkansas, and they assist us as well, especially with events this massive. So, Kevin, if you could tag your page in the comments, everybody go like that. They do a really good job down there. But anyways, he's down here in southwestern Arkansas, so he's having the luxury of forecasting this uncertainty down here, where you have the rain and the freezing rain down here at this point from the Queen all the way down to El Dorado. So we'll have to keep an eye on that at this point, Kevin, but I do fully agree. Northeasterly winds can infiltrate southwestern Arkansas sometimes, and it can bust those temperatures down there as well. So let me see here. Cam, I explain things so well. If they can't understand, it's not you. Nancy, thank you. I try my best to explain it as simple as possible. So let me see here. So is the River Valley going to be too warm with this one? Mickey, I'm going to say no because of northeast winds. We learned that a lot with the last event. We had northeast winds, and the colder air was able to infiltrate the River Valley. A lot of people diss the River Valley so much because it's so warm, you get rain, cold rain. Yes, it does occur, but it doesn't happen 100% of the time. You have to forecast that too, because you get northeasterly winds into the River Valley, it's going to bring that colder down. So, and especially in this case with it being shallow. So keep that in mind over there in the River Valley. I do think you're going to be that freezing rain, the sleet area at this point. So just something to keep in mind. But River Valley is not always raining. It happens on occasion, don't get me wrong, in particular setups, but 100% of the time, it's not always rain across the board. So, can you post a map showing what areas will be icing up, like I mentioned before, Becky? Right now, accumulations at this point is going to be a no. That's an interesting map that just came out from Little Rock. They just issued that. So, this map we need adjustments, but Little Rock, National Service Little Rock, has came further to the south. So that's what we mean. That's what we're talking about right now. Temperatures are trending a lot colder, and everybody's having to come further to the south with this one, guys. So this is what we're talking about at this point. But yeah, to answer your question, Becky, talking about what areas are going to be icing up, I think central and southeastern Arkansas is going to be the best shot. Accumulations right now are way too hard to kind of nail down at this point, but I promise you, you stay patient with us. We're going to get that information out at this point. Philip, the Euro, not doing too hot with this setup. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It's not doing too hot with it. Now, I do believe it has trended colder. I can take a look at the 18Z real quick. I do think it trended colder with this setup, and there's the freezing rain, by the way. But I think, personally, if you want my honest opinion, I think the European model is too warm. And it's funny, because the last event, it was too cold, where it had to snow all the way down to Little Rock. This time around, it's too warm. So let's see what ends up happening. But it does have that training freezing rain Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, the European model, I wouldn't solely just, forecast off of it, because it's not doing too hot with the temperatures at this point. So yeah, I knew they sold them somewhere. Those battery powered heaters. I knew they sold them somewhere. But you can get them on Amazon or you can get them at Walmart. Also, Stephen as well. Warm shelters will be open as well across the area, and we'll have that information as well once we get a little closer. Also, this will be posted on the page, so in case you missed it, you can always rewind it as well. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and Cal, love that recommendation. Do not use portable propane heaters inside your house, folks. I'd rather not hear a report of somebody's house being blown to bits trying to light up a heater, a portable propane heater in the house. I'd rather not hear that situation. So every ice event, I see reports of people losing power and doing this, end up burning their house down because it gets knocked over. Don't do it, guys. Like I mentioned before, there's warming centers and everything like that. So just keep that in mind. Right now, it's a little too early, but I say at this point, over the next day or so, we may be dealing with some ice storm warnings or winter storm warnings coming our way here. So I've noticed Little Rock's wording has intensified a little bit more than it was earlier. So yeah, temperatures are trending colder. A propane cook stove and a hot water heater. Now I will say this: instead of leaving your stoves on as well, because that could be another fire hazard. Do it 1 to 2 hours, get your house elevated, and then turn it off. Don't go to sleep with it on either, because that could lead to a very, very bad situation. So if you have a gas stove or anything like that, or a gas water heater, that's awesome. That's fine and dandy. Just like I said before, with the stoves, don't leave it on all night. I know it's going to get a little cold, but don't leave it on all night. Just let your house get elevated and then turn it on while somebody's awake and monitoring. That way you don't have your house burning down or anything like that. So let me see here. I'm praying on the lose power. There's also people that have just all electric. You know, if it's all electric, then in that particular situation, what you do is just, like I said, you can go buy one of those portable heaters. You can get them on Amazon, everything like that. If somebody can find me that link, you'd be my best friend if you can find me that link, because I could post that on the page or whatever. But anywho, I pray we don't lose power. I'm all electric at this point. Brandon, like I said, I understand that, but you can get, I do believe they sell that. If you have to, stay with a friend that has that gas-powered stove or anything like that. That way, you'll be good to go across the area here. But yeah, Southeastern Arkansas, I keep an eye on it at this point. Kevin, thank you so much for tagging that. Folks, go like that page. They have our backing. Go like that page. They are an awesome team. They do a heck of a job down there in southwestern Arkansas. So go like that page at this point. So there's a lot of limbs down with the last snow event. Wouldn't take much, especially, and that was a number one concern, Haley. They were talking about that is I think Paul, the weather guru, one of our great friends as well, he mentioned that point is North Arkansas is taking the brunt of the power outages up there. You have a lot of tree limbs still down and everything like that. So you get ice up there in northern Arkansas, it's game over because you're still recovering. Even in some cases, I think energy is still out there repairing some of the damage out there. So you get ice up there, it's game over. Your best case will be sleet, so you need this to trend colder, but it is going to screw central and south Arkansas. So no matter where you go, you're in a situation. But I do agree is that if North Arkansas sees the ice, it's not going to be pretty up there. Yeah, Chris, yes, it does underestimate the cold air, especially Arctic air. It does it all the time. That's why I don't like using model guidance for for this particular Air Master, because it doesn't do too good, except for the Canadian. I say the Canadian does a decent job. It's pretty good in terms of trying to do its best to nail it down, but even then, it's not 100% accurate. I've seen temperatures get even colder than what the Canadian one was wanting to throw out. So that's the biggest thing with that. Also, thank you again. I'm hopping off of here. Amy, I'm not going to be far behind. That's all the information I've got for you guys at this moment. Just going over everything. Rain, and more rain for us here in El Dorado. Like I said, I know a lot of people are seeing it right now too. We have a disturbance moving through the area right now, bringing rainfall. But you guys see it down there in El Dorado. You get rain. This is one setup. You want rain. You want it. Because I don't know if I just speak for myself or everybody else, but I wouldn't want to deal with the power outages or the other nightmare or anything like that here. So in this particular case, you want cold rain. You want a cold rain. You do not want to keep the ice set up here. Nicholas, great point. I have been monitoring the NAM, It's been along with the Canadian. The Canadian's been neck and neck with the NAM with the consistency. So let me see here. Yeah, candles do a good source of heat as well. If you lose power, it's a good option as well. I will say this, Haley, for the candles as well. Anything that you light on fire during a power outage, it's always safe to turn it off when you go to sleep. That way you don't end up with your house burning or anything like that. Just make sure you do that. Or if you do go to sleep and there's somebody else with you, just take turns. Somebody's always monitoring that fire just in case it gets out of control, because I would really hate to hear that situation across the air here. So let me see here. I think that is it. Yeah, somebody actually pinned that in the comments. That's awesome. You can get them at Walmart and hardware stores as well. Brenda, thank you. I know there's a lot of hardware stores in the metro and some other places that you can go and get one. So let me see here. I think that is it, guys. Yeah, power companies are still working up there in north central Arkansas. Boy, they are in for a long week, along with our buddy Cal that works for RDOT. So is freezing rain better than sleet? No, it is not. It is way worse than dealing with sleet. You do not, and I'm like I said, I'm stressing this right now. You do not want to deal with freezing rain. It's a deceiver for a reason. It draws you out because it thinks, oh, it's just rain, and you get out on the roadways and you're in a mess. So don't get out. Don't get out. If you see rainfall and your temperatures are below freezing, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You will thank me later. I promise you. Don't do it. Freezing rain is your worst nightmare. Sleet is the second worst. Snow, I'd say third worst, or first better, or in any case like that, depends. But freezing rain is your first worst. You do not ever want to deal with freezing rain because it can cause so much havoc across the board. So just keep that in mind here. It is not the best option over the sleet here. So the RGM, the NAM, and the HR are in line with each other here. Now, I will say, Kevin, the HR in terms of Monday night, let's see what happens, because I think it's running a little bit warmer Monday night versus the NAM and the RGM, unless I'm mistaken. But we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with that here. I think the HR will come colder over the next couple of runs here. So I'm going to get one more question here, and I think that is it. Hang on, Nicholas. I'm going to get to this one. Folks, I'm going to stress this. If you missed anything, you can go back in the live stream and follow our page. A lot of people are tuning into these live streams and don't have a clue on who we are or what we do. All you got to do is go to our page, to the header, go to the page, give us a follow. I promise you guys, you're not going to regret it. All your information is going to be there and everything like that here. So I realized that when we went back in the insights, a lot of people are tuning into these live streams, no idea who we are, no clue what we do, just a random Facebook page that gives good information. There's a lot more to that. So go give us a follow, go give us a like, tell your friends and family about it. I promise you guys, we've been doing this since 2014. We're going to continue to do it here. So this is the last question I'm going to get to, and then I'm going to post this on the page, and then we'll go from there. What is my confidence level right now on a major ice storm? That is the number one question I've been asked over the last 24 to 48 hours. I'm going to say 50-50. That's just me being blunt, honest right now, because I don't like this setup. I'm going to go back to this real fast. I'm going to tell you about this. Every time you have a southwest flow with Arctic air mass in place, it never ends well for somebody. And I'm talking about ice. Right now, it is premature to say this is going to be a massive ice storm. I have that feeling, that gut feeling this is going to be an ice storm for somebody. My money is on central and southeast Arkansas right now, but we'll see what ends up happening with that. But I don't like this setup. This setup always screams ice. Southwest flow, cold air coming in, never ends well, because your southwest flow, and that's the reason why your temperatures, the aloft, are warm, because of the southwest flow, and your Arctic air is coming in trying to cool things down, but it can't happen unless you're at the surface. So that's how you get freezing rain, and even in some extreme cases, sleet. But you have to get those temperatures to trend colder aloft to see those to see sleet. I'm really worried central southeastern Arkansas is going to see a ice event out of this, and I believe Little Rock is not far behind our thinking right now here. They're favoring central and northeast, but we'll see what ends up happening with that here. I think it's going to come a little bit further south, especially at this point, given what all the parameters you have in place here. So that's all I got for you guys at this point. I appreciate each and every single one of y'all for being here. I cannot stress it enough. 178,000 strong on this page, and I would love to continue that trend upwards, guys. That way we can inform more people, we can stay ahead of the game, and a lot more people will be aware of situations, especially like this. So if you know anybody, give them a heads up, tell them about our page, tell them what we do. We cover the entire state, not specific areas, the entire state from north, south, east, west. That's all I got for you guys right now. I'll be back here once again tomorrow night going over all the information, and we'll continue to keep you guys updated right here, your source for all things Arkansas weather.